Okay, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Dan John, legendary strength coach according to Men's Health magazine, and we're going to move from the philosophical into the practical today. We at least 2 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago, we talked about sort of the philosophy of minimalism, how we think about minimalism in the abstract. And what we want to do today, after a little bit of conversational warm up, is move from the philosophical to the practical and share with you guys some minimalist workout ideas, maybe some 10-minute routines, 15-minute routines, maybe 30-minute routines, and just give you some good, actionable items, if you will, some good old-fashioned workouts. But before we get to that, Dan, wonderful to see you as always. How are you this morning?
I'm struggling. My trivia team took 5th place last night, and I mean
is that an all-time low for you guys?
Well, it's weird because I really thought we were doing well, and we just were not.
Sorry to hear that, Dan.
Yeah,
Do you want to cancel the show today? Can you go on?
You can't be more disappointed in me than I am in myself, but it's been tough. And then this morning I started Nate Huey, who's a frequent listener. In fact, Nate, put something in the comments so we can thank you. Nate came up with this idea of a Tuesday morning kettlebell club where I answer 2 or 3 or 4 questions about kettlebells. I had it on Instagram Live.
Oh, cool.
YouTube, and then we do it on Zoom all at the same time.
Oh, that's cool. I want to be a part of that sometime, Dan. That sounds like it's a nice thing.
What we want to hear, and that's exactly. And so, yeah, it was good. I'm doing my. I'm back to a program I call the Transformation Program, and I am so sore. It's weird to think this, but last Friday, so I did 3 sets of 8 with a minute rest. I did front squats followed by overhead squats. The weight was not huge, but that's 48 reps and with a minute rest, and it's front squat and overhead squat. And I went deep, and boy, my thighs they're better today, but boy, they're sore.
So is it that special soreness that really is manifest when you're walking down the stairs or sitting on the toilet? That kind of soreness?
Oh, that's the one. Standing up from a chair is just embarrassing. So real simple. Day 1, it's military press and power curl. 3 sets, 8-minute rest, ab wheel, walk. There's some mobility.
I'm sorry, you said 3 sets of 8-minute rest. Is that right?
3 sets of 8 with a minute rest.
Okay, cool.
And the thing is, it sounds easy, but don't judge the weight until the 3rd set, because like in the power curl, I can use much, much more. And I proved it by the 3rd set. But in the military, sadly, my pressing power kind of took a hit in the last couple of months when I was trying to do some extra work on, some other things, fat loss and my Olympic lift. So my press strength is way down. And I just,
but what an important thing to highlight, right? I mean, again, let's get away from the false world of social media and get into real life. And we've talked about this before, is that, pursuing goals, success is really always a matter of managing compromise, as you point out. And people are always quick to highlight the things that go up, but rarely ever do you have something that goes up without something else sort of going down a little bit, because there's always trade-offs. There's always trade-offs in what you want to pursue in life. If you're really hot on X, then Y has to just take a little bit of a backseat. Doesn't mean it has to just go into nothing. I'm sure Dan is plenty strong at the press. It's just you might not have been, clearly not as strong as when you were just pressing more, right?
Yeah, I mean, somebody asked me if I do a video on pressing the beast, and I'm like, Brian, actually, and I'm like, well, you're going to give me a couple of weeks to get that back up. I mean, I'm sure I could pull performance presses with it, in front of an audience. I don't think there's a question I would get the beast, but in a training session, I'd pick it up and go, yeah, not today, but, and I can press the beast a lot, but it's just not there right now.
But that's the maturity of the mindset. There was a line in there I just want to highlight. I could get it back in a couple weeks. And if people could just remember that, right? Because the problem is people get so neurotic about things sliding a little bit, right? They get so neurotic about this, and they feel like, oh, if I'm not at my peak anymore, then I'm a worthless cockroach, right? And And what happens is that just keeps them in this perpetual plateau, this perpetual
It's medium. You
circle,
live in
right?
medium. You live in medium.
Yeah, so you have to be willing to just, okay, I'm going to put this in maintenance mode and maybe let it taper off a little bit so I can really surge in this direction. But that's okay because I know I already got the foundations over here that I can get it back in a couple weeks, right? And then that should
Exactly.
it's just like, that's cool, man. It's cool.
Yeah, you get I have a 31 to 36 pound weight loss in the past year, and I want to keep that. Well, to keep that, then I can't obviously, when you press and squat a lot, you tend to be like, well, I can get away with these calories. I can, give me, one beer is not good enough. I'm squatting, and you do. But so what the joke I always make, your daughter comes home from college and she says, I met the man of my dreams. And I say, well, what's he like? Well, he's okay. He's, well, what's he look like? He's normal height, average looking guy, how are her grades? He's a good student, I guess, not great. Oh, okay. What does he do? That's the love of your life. I mean, come on, and to me, that's what happens is people are so afraid to put, for example, people say, well, I want to learn the Olympic list, but I also want to do this, this, and this. Well, okay. You probably already suck at this, this, and this. So you're going to add another thing that you're not going to be very good at. So you're just gonna be, flatlined at, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be very good.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the theme that I harp a lot about. A good generalist is a short-term specialist. We have to be okay with kind of surging in a particular direction at a time, which means, easing up in other directions, and things will slide. That's just the natural consequences, but that's okay because you can always cycle back. And long term, you're gonna, rather than get stuck in a circle of embarrassingly small diameter, you'll actually build a much bigger circle, right? And that's how you make real progress. But it also requires the maturity to not just want to try and hold on to everything at once. There's this kind of I see this so often, Dan, you probably do too. There's this very limiting psychology of people when it comes not just to fitness goals, but life goals in general. This inability to just let certain things just, even just stay the same, let alone let them slide a little bit. But that's just the price you have to pay if you really want to push further in life in certain areas. Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I think that's the mistake of doing something constantly, about having your little sissy or Bobby doing a full-time sport as a young person. We used to call it at Judge, we used to call it the senior summer. You'd be coaching this kid 3 years, but if the kid did other sports, so you coach them in the fall and they did another sport, even if it's just one, that's fine. They'd be walking down the hall just before their senior year, just before they started playing, and go, oh, I get it now. They would completely understand everything you'd been trying to teach them from 3 years, because they got away from football.
Mm-hmm.
They had enough experiences, and finally the brain just pieced everything together. So for me, some of my best throwing insights have come, this is going to sound weird, Patrick, but only now, as with the mists of time, do I realize why my senior year at Utah State was so good. I'm going to tell you an interesting thing. You want to know why? Because my junior, I got hit in the head with a discus, and I had a terrible. So I quit being an athlete because of a number of reasons. Mostly, there was the physical, obviously, there, but so I quit and I stopped. So June, July, August, September, October 11th, I didn't lift weights and I didn't throw. And then I woke up from the concussion. Anyone's ever had a major concussion will know what I'm talking about. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I can't. And my senior year, I think, was so good because now, obviously, there was the concussion issues, and we'll put those just aside. But I finally, after 7 years, and even longer, of training 6 hours a day, I gave my body a break. I gave my mind a break.
Yes.
My senior year, I would take 6 throws in the discus and practice. It would be over with the discus because I was throwing so far so well. And I think what happened is this conversation we're having, by letting by getting away, by relaxing, by focusing on other things, everything else suddenly made a lot of sense.
Yeah, things sort of connected and sunk in and all that good stuff. By the way, I'm sorry for being rude. Good morning, gentle listeners. We didn't greet the gentle listeners.
Oh, good morning, gentle listeners.
It's all good to see you, Anthony. Please chime in with what you're drinking and whatever questions you have. As always, we'll do Q&A towards the second half of the episode.
And Antonio also is trying to, keep me going forward. He's supporting my poor performance last night as a trivia master. So
day by day, Dan, day by day, we'll take it. So yeah, I think this is always a really just important theme to come back to. A lot of times people, they want the program, and they want the programming, and they want the physiology side. But how often do we forget the psychological aspects of training and how many barriers there are on that front? So to me, if the coach isn't addressing or at least highlighting some of these psychological barriers to success, they're not doing everything they could be or even should be doing. And very, very often it is these sort of psychological barriers that I see blocking people. It's not just that they don't have an effective program. Oftentimes they're unwilling to go on to an effective program because of these psychological blocks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a discussion that Tom Brady is going to come back, and I hope he fully embraces 5 or 6 months of true retirement. Feet on the beach, taking the kids to amusement parks. Because if he actually does that, he'll be as good as he is. And I know you don't know sports teams very well, but
not at all, Dan.
Young Tom Brady.
Of course, I know who Tom Brady is, so. Yeah. And I know he's a divisive figure in sports. Now, as an outsider, non-sports fan, I've always thought he seemed pretty cool and awesome. But I know that is not always the prevailing opinion.
I struggle with people who say they don't like Tom Brady because it's like, God, I mean, what do you want? I mean, the guy, nobody wanted him out of high school. No one wanted him out of college. He drafted in the 6th round, when it's his time. And this is it's a fairy tale kind of thing. But, Earl Nightingale always talks about, there's no such thing as luck. When the starting quarterback was nearly killed, by the way, in a tackle, Brady stepped up and was ready to go.
Preparation meets opportunity, as they say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I hate it when people call it the breaks or luck and things like that. If you're ready, your time will come. I used to tell that to the high school kids all the time. Yeah, you're not starting the opening week, but dude, I can almost guarantee if you keep working, because of injuries and just the way things go. But most of the kids would just, well, if I'm not starting, I'm gonna, and they went to plan B and missed their opportunity, for everything.
Right. Yeah. I firmly am with you there. I think if you keep grinding, you keep working, you will get those opportunities. But you of course, if the opportunities come and you're not ready, then yeah, you're going to blow it. And that could be it. Right. Mm-hmm.
I've told you my scholarship story, haven't I? This is a very important story, I think. So I'm up at Portland State and I'm standing in line, and the guy, so we're getting, it's for the Middle East thing. And we're standing in line. I'm standing there, and the guy is who I need to get like a form from. He's on the phone. Well, this is disappointing. He hangs up. He looks up and says, "Do you want $1,500?" Now this is 1984 when $1,500 was a game changer financially. Okay, for me. And I said, "Yes, I would." And he goes, "Agnes, give this guy a check." And she gave me a check. What did I do to earn that $1,500? I showed up. I was standing in line. Somebody else from, I don't know, UCLA or something was supposed to get this money and didn't. And so many times in life, by just showing up and taking care of business and being where you need to be, good things happen.
Yeah, how about that? Great reminders as always. So, if you don't mind, we'll pivot now to the theme. And Dan, I want to put you on the spot a little bit because I know you can handle it. And talk about minimalist workout applications. And maybe we can take it any direction you want. But I thought, maybe we could say we got 10 minutes. What's a Dan John routine? We have 15 minutes. What's a Jan Don routine? And what's 30 minutes? Can we go 10, 15, 30, something like that?
And I've already done.
Yeah. So gentle listeners, take out the pen and paper if you just want some practical, actionable, minimalist workout ideas. I think Dan John's going to be able to help us today.
And then I also sent you a part of my new book, the Easy Strength Omni book, coming in fall.
The Easy Strength what? Repeat that.
Omni book.
Omni.
Yeah, it's J.K. Doherty's phrase. I'm going to use it. The book that changed my life was a track and field Omni book. So I decided.
Awesome.
And it's over. We're already. It's going to be. You're not going to need to buy weights anymore. You'll just have the book, and you'll just work out with the book. It's going to be massive. Okay.
Perfect. Awesome.
But I sent you a part on 2-day-a-week training, because when you get to 2-day-a-week training, or pardon me, 2 exercise a day training, most of us would put that as the kind of the start of the minimalist discussion. So, in Pavel's first book, he talked about doing bench press and kettlebell snatch. Second book,
that original book was a ton of fun. It's hard to get these days, but I still have a copy of it somewhere. Yeah,
right up there somewhere.
Yeah, it was just called the Russian Kettlebell Challenge. Yeah,
and then Enter the Kettlebell. It's swings and Turkish getup.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I told him we'd never have another weightlifting book if Power to the People would have been bench press and rack deadlift. There'd never be another book. Entire gyms would be just 2 pieces of equipment, and people would come in for their 2 sets of 5 and hit the road. Mm-hmm. And magic would happen. Nick Horton, who was a very good, in fact, he was a Portland State, revitalized the Portland State Olympic lifting team. It was interesting when he was there. He goes, "Yeah, I want to start a team here." And I said, "Well, back in the 80s, you guys had a really good team." He said, "I had no idea." Well, yeah, I was there. I was there studying Turkish. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Nick's idea was really interesting. His 2 lifts only, the Olympic squat snatch and the front squat. So he would fast about 20. He would fast a long time, say 20 hours, snatch and front squat, eat, and then snatch and front squat again, eat, and then go back on his fast. And the thing is, those workouts don't last very long.
That's funny. That's interesting.
So generally, and now a lot of it's going to depend on how you're shaped, gentle listener. These are all, me. I always have to start with parameters for 3 hours and then get to the substance. Mm-hmm. Now, I talked about this with Pat before, but a guy like me, I'm a push hinger. I can hinge. I never trained the deadlift. I was always a deadlifter. My bench press in high school is better than, like I said before, any adult listening. I benched more than you when I was 16. Sorry, that's just a fact, and good for me. My squat and
Pat Flynn definitely did not. Right, it's the opposite.
My pull and my squat suck. So when I look at a minimalist program, there's 2 directions you can go. Now, if I'm going to compete as an elite athlete, I'm going to focus on the gifts God gave me. So I'm going to pick an upper body push and a hinge movement. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be my money. So
play your strengths, right? Mm-hmm.
If I say bench press, incline press, military press, pick one. And then I say rack deadlift, snatch, clean, swing, pick one. There's your minimalist program for a push hinger. For someone, say, who's a pull squatter, you could do something as simple as chin up, pull up. I would say chin up, that's with the hands this way. Yeah. It's a little easier on the elbow if you're doing 5 days a week training.
If you're a higher frequency, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you did chin up and back squat, okay, why am I doing this? Pull up, chin up, fill in the blank, pull, front squat, overhead squat, goblet squat. There. That way, if you're a pull squatter. Now, if you're a push squatter, you could just simply do clean and jerk and be done with it, I guess. Mm-hmm. But you could, if you're a push squatter, well, this isn't bad. The guys before me at Utah State, this is what they did. They benched and they back squatted. And it really helped some of those guys. When Farron Sondrager told me about it, I remember thinking, yeah, there's no way I would improve on that. With the benefit of 45 years of hindsight, now I realize, because when I heard it, even though I didn't know this, I was a push hinger, and those guys were push squatters.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a pull hinger, then all of Pavel's works are great for you, because Pavel is a pull hinger. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to, when I look at a combination like the bench press and the kettlebell snatch, I mean, you see what my eyes are doing? Like, you see that, just that painful look I'm getting in my face. Like, oh God, who would ever do that? But you would if you were built a certain way. You're born to do certain things.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in I would say first and foremost, if you're just going to do a minimalist 2-exercise program, I would go with your fastballs. I would go with your strengths.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that,
so for Pat Flynn, that's probably pull-ups and snatches at that point.
Okay, which is your program you just came out with?
One of them, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Pat this week came out with the 2 vertical workout, pull-up and snatch. And I looked at that like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then promptly, clicked on to, clickbait and started looking at, the 107 best movies that never got, an award. Okay. So, and
great article.
And every single one you have to press the monkey button. Yeah.
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah. Clickbaits are called. Yeah. Having said that, there is probably an advantage if you're only doing 2 exercises to go opposite. So I'm a push hinger. I would do a Pat Flynn pull squatter. The only downside is, we're pushing the water back upstream.
Right.
Maybe we're clearing some weaknesses. So yeah. My thought is this. If you're going to do a minimalist program, I would say, especially if you're just trying to come in and look good and feel good and move good, I would go with what you probably naturally, when you hear those 2 exercises, the upper body one and the lower body one, the one that goes, I like that. And in your warm up or in your cool down, do the opposite. So
practice the gaps. Right.
So what do I do literally every single day of my life? I hang and I sit in the bottom position of the goblet squat.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So let's say somebody wants to do pull-ups and front squats. Dan, they're gonna pick those 2.
Hang on, because you know what happens is with my genius level IQ. Say it again. The exercise. See, I already forgot.
Pull-ups and front squats. Fine combo. Awesome combo. Yeah. I love that combo. How would you structure that for somebody?
Well, okay. So if you read Dan John's upcoming brilliant new book, Easy Strength Omnibook, which is, I mean, I can only tell you how excited everyone is for this because no one read the first one. So let's, no one read the second one. This genius breaks everything down into this little formula. Originally it was 2 to 5 days a week, 2 to 5 exercises, 2 to 5 sets, 2 to 5 reps. What this genius has changed to is this: 2, 3, 5 days a week, 2, 3, 5 exercises, 2, 3, 5 sets, 2, 3, 5 reps. And the reason is this, is if you do 1 through 5 on all those options, it gives you 625 possible outcomes. If you go 2, 3, 5, it only gives you 81. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not figuring out a 5 sets of 1 program for any of you. Sorry, I'm not. Okay, there. But I
draw a line somewhere, right? Mm-hmm.
I will help you with 2 sets of 5, 5 sets of 2, 3 sets of 3. Excuse me, boy. Oh, here's my dog. Sorry, it's a little chilly down here in the great state of Utah, and I'm trying to show my guns up.
Oh yeah.
So the first thing you have to do is there's some questions you have to ask.
Sure.
Am I going to exercise 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days a week?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That I think changes the reps and set scheme.
Certainly, right. So there's kind of a little push and pull in terms of programming variables, right? You push one a little bit further, maybe frequency, then you pull back maybe on duration or stuff like that, or density.
So let me give you the ideal program: 3 exercises, 3 days a week, 3 sets of 3.
3, 3, 3. Write it down, gentle listeners.
No, 3, 3, 3, 3. 3 days a week, 3 exercises, 3 sets of 3.
3. Oh, okay. All right. Now you've just confused everybody. It would have been so much cleaner if we had one less 3 in there, but we have 4 threes.
Yeah. So
But we can handle it, Dan. We can work with this.
Stefan Kort, the German powerlifter and coach, he came up with this program of having his athletes squat, bench press, and deadlift 3 days a week with 3 sets of 3. And then they slowly, and it was basically, I mean, it was, but let's just say, let's just stick with right there. Okay. And then there's much more to it. And I've already screwed it up, but
yeah.
So if you're going to do push up, front squat, pull up, front squat, and let's just throw in suitcase carry. Is that okay for you? Or
it's fine by me. Mm-hmm.
So on the pull up and the front squat, you're going to do that 3 days a week, 3 sets of 3, and by God, those loads are going to be heavy.
3 days a week. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the easiest. Now you have 2 exercises, so I think you can actually do more days a week. So the next jump is 5. So if you're doing pull up and front squat 5 days a week, maybe a program like one day, I would say most of the time you'd want to do 2 sets of 5 because you're going to be in the gym daily. So you're going to want to cut the number of sets down time-wise. Mm-hmm. You don't want 2-hour, 5-day-a-week workouts.
Okay, this is good because this is going to fit pretty nicely into workouts for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, right?
I hope you're following me exactly. So I'm answering your question.
Yes, indeed.
But
yes.
There is a bit of an algorithm that has to happen up here. Mm-hmm. The shorter my workout is on time, the more I have to be a little bit tighter on exercise selection and sets. Mm-hmm. Because 2 sets of 5 is a much faster workout than 5 sets of 2.
Yes. Yeah, as it should be. Mm-hmm.
Right. So now let's go ahead. Now ask with that in mind. So here's the thing, folks. First, 2, 3, 5. That's the number of days a week, the number of exercises you're going to choose, the number of sets, and the number of reps. If you lift 5 days a week with 5 exercises and do 5 sets of 5, you can do it, but front squats might not be a choice. You can hang in there a long time. Snatch grip deadlifts will be very difficult. 5 sets of 5. I mean, that's 75 sets of front squats a week.
It's pushing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think I'm having problems getting up, man, you're going to have real issues. So, okay, now using that formula now, go ahead and ask me your question. Go.
Using that formula, how would you plug in front squats and pull-ups?
For how many minutes a day?
Let's go with 15. I feel like that's a number 15? That people are attracted to. Mm-hmm.
So pull up and front squat. Okay. So I would come in and I would do maybe maybe a weird swing push-up combination. Like I've got a million of them on my website, but maybe you would do
like a humane burpee type of.
No, because you got this. You're doing front squats.
Oh, that's right.
So maybe 10 swings, 5 push-ups, 10 swings, 4 push-ups, 10 swings, 3 push-ups, 10 swings, 2 push-ups, 10 swings, 1 push-up. So 50 swings, 15 push-ups. You're ready to go. 2 sets of 5 in the pull-up, 2 sets of 5 in the front squat. Walk out the door.
Beautiful. Awesome. Now, if you were to push it to 30 minutes, how would you adjust that routine?
Actually, what I just said is pretty good. So maybe on the swing push-up thing, you go 15 swings and still stay with the same 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 push-up. On the pull-ups, we could slide over to weighted 5 sets of 2, and on the front squat, 5 sets of 2.
Yeah, very good. I really like how you're emphasizing if our meat selection, the primary dish is pull and squat, then for that, call it the warm up or the intro, then we're going to do the push and the hinge, right? So we're still covering those bases, but right. The primary focus are, as you say, the fastballs. I like that a lot. That's smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is as you expand in time, I would suggest you expand in sets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And maybe take the reps down, or would you?
Yeah. So remember, I said 2 sets of 5 when you only had 15 minutes. I said 5 sets of 2 when you had 30
Yes.
minutes.
Right. Yeah. And then varying the intensity appropriately as well. Good. Yeah, that's really helpful. I hope that if people have any questions on that framework, obviously put them in and we'll answer them as we work through the questions here. But that's a really cool framework, I think. Because it's one thing to sit here and talk about the philosophy of minimalism, as we often do, which is good and helpful, but
Right.
the people want to see it in practice, right? And this is sort of what it looks like in the concrete. One way it looks like it could look differently, of course, but I really like this framework because we're kind of setting those boundaries in place. And this is sort of a theme of ours, Dan, I like, is like, okay, you got to stay within these boundaries at least. But within those boundaries, there's kind of a lot of room to play, right? Maybe another way to think about it is a sort of a playground, right? There's a fence around the playground, and you don't go outside the fence because, I don't know, there's alligators or something. So you stay inside the fence, but there's lots of room to play, lots of ways to experiment and have fun and make progress. But we do have to respect the fence as there for a reason. So I always like that sort of a mix of rigidity and flexibility. Okay, here's the framework. Here are the boundaries. Stay in here. Good things are generally going to happen, but there's still enough room to experiment and adjust programming to your lifestyle, your preferences. Do you want to train more frequently, less frequently, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter? The framework can handle all of that. That's
Right.
really good stuff.
So what's going to happen is, gentle listener, is when you make your choice on days of the week. So, for example, I basically Olympic lift 3 days a week. So when in those 3 days, because and I'm only doing 2 exercises, the snatch and the clean and jerk. Can you see how the matrix already just filled out? It's already filling out as I'm speaking. So 3 days a week. I train 7 days a week. I do that. No, that's not. I enjoy the journey of movement 7 days a week. I embrace love and movement 7 days. I Olympic lift 3 days a week. Okay, so it's 3. And I have 2 exercises, okay, the snatch and the clean and jerk, but I also do front squat, so that's 3. And what I say is I like to lift, I like to get that done. I have a little mobility matrix I do. So I hang and I sit at the bottom of the gobble squat. That takes an entire minute.
Yep.
I don't know if I have time. I throw in a set of ab wheels that takes 30 seconds. That's a minute and a half. The
Love
clock
the ab wheel.
is ticking, man. So, and I do a few warm-ups with something I call the snatch complex. And then, so in about a 24-minute period of time, okay, I have to do 3 exercises. And I'm trying to hold that 30-minute thing for you, okay?
Yep.
So that means I have to do 3 exercises in 24 minutes. So if I'm doing 3 sets of 3, okay, with those 3 exercises, 3 singles with the clean and jerk, that means I have about 8 minutes to get those done. You see how this? You see what I'm doing?
I do.
So in that 8 minutes, if I'm doing 3 sets of 3 in the snatch, that seems like plenty of time. 8 minutes, 3 singles. I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go up and load on those because I got plenty of time. And on the front squats, 3 sets of 3 in 8 minutes with chains. That seems to be right on. So you see how that's going to. So what's nice is when I make those big kid choices before. So you're telling me I've got now. Give me another amount of time, and give me 2 different a push or a pull. Go.
Yeah, let's go 10 minutes. So we'll really compress it.
10? Fuck. I mean,
we'll go. Let's say 12. How about
right.
Can you deal with 12 minutes? And
I'll try not to swear.
And then we'll go. Let's do a hinge, and let's do a push.
Okay, push hinge. Okay, so that's you give me 10 minutes. I got 12 minutes. Yeah. So the exercises will be let's do the press, kettlebell press and swing, and the warm up is hang and goblet squat. Okay, or so okay. Going got 12 minutes. So I'm going to come in the gym. I'm going to hang for 30 seconds. I'm going to sit at the bottom of the goblet squat for 30 seconds. Now we have 11 minutes to go. I could do the humane burpee right there.
Yeah.
15 swings, 10 goblets. Well, 15 swings, 10 push-ups, 15 swings, 9 push-ups, 15 swings, 8, 15, 7. And that would basically take care of business. Now, because I said press, I could also do something like 20 swings, 3 left arm press, 20 swings, 3 right arm press, 15 swings, 2, 15 swings, 2, 10
Yes.
swings, 1, 10 swings, 1. Try to repeat that if I can 3 times.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic. That's really good. And look, gentle listeners, there's always constraints, right? If you're only going to do 10 minutes, there's just only so much you can get done in 10 minutes, right? But
That's not
I
bad.
think everybody would agree that what Dan just gave you is a whole heck of a lot better than not doing anything, right? So we're just trying to give options here. And I know a lot of people, especially listeners of this podcast, are in situations where, you know, they might not be going to the gym. It just might be 10 minutes to sneak away down to the basement to do something like that. So we're trying to put something on the table here to say, hey, look, I get it. Your life's busy. You got a lot of stuff going on. Here's something you can get done in 10 to 12 minutes in the basement that's actually going to be pretty cool and pretty effective. So
yeah, so what it ends up being is and my math could be wrong, because if you know my math, that's 135 swings and then 18 presses, overhead presses per side.
not bad. Not bad for a day's work in just
Those numbers,
10 minutes,
those
right?
numbers, and the thing is, if the buzzer stops at 11:59 and you only got 90 swings and 12 presses per side, that's still pretty good.
Pretty good. Awesome. Well, I think we put a lot of good options on the table. Dan, should we take some questions and see what the gentle listeners have for us now?
The thing I'd like to do right now is just say, if the people wrote down what we said, so days of the week, number of exercises, sets. Now, sets controls time. Sets is going to control the time matrix. Reps, if it's strength movements, are going to be a rule of 10. What you can do, and if you put it into the push, pull, hinge, squat stuff, is that you can probably put together an algorithm, a template, a spreadsheet that answers every single question and spits them out.
You know, I bet we have some spreadsheet people here. And if anybody wants to take up that challenge and try and do that, send it to us. And if we get something kind of cool, we'll feature it on a future episode. So I know we got spreadsheet people, because people send me this stuff of spreadsheets of stuff we've said on the podcast before. So there you guys go. If you want to play around with that.
I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee, okay?
Yeah, let me I'll just highlight a few comments here, Dan, while you get your refill. Clem says,
my legs are killing me.
That's all right. Take your time. Clem says, still on Pat's Get Strong program and loving it. Grateful for this weekly podcast. Yeah, gentle listeners, I have an episode on the podcast. If you just search Pat Flynn Get Strong program, it'll pop up, where I just give that entire program on an episode. And somebody on Instagram just messaged me this morning saying that they're loving and getting awesome results from this as well. So that's really cool to hear, Clem. And I'm glad that that's working well for you. And that's a free program. It's out there. Just search the YouTube archives and it will pop right up. Awesome. Wayne, good to see you. YouTube says whoever made that playground doesn't like kids. Well, maybe it's a playground in Louisiana where I just was. I just got back from Baton Rouge. That's why there hasn't been a lot of content this week. Shout out to my friend Luke Atchley. Dan, you know Luke. He did a cert review in Milwaukee. So he took me out. He didn't really take me out. He brought me to a park with a bunch of crawfish. We ate some crawfish, and I got the full Baton Rouge experience there. And
isn't Luke a great guy?
Oh, he's awesome. So if people aren't familiar with Luke, if you're in the Baton Rouge area, give him a ring. Great guy. And it's funny that he did the cert with you in Milwaukee, but that must have been, I think that was probably the year before I actually moved back to Wisconsin. Otherwise, I would have been there, right?
Yeah. Ever since you've moved there, I refused to. Oh, that's not true. I'll be in your sweet town. I'll be in up north of you in someplace in Wisconsin Thursday.
And you didn't tell me this, Dan? We'll talk after. We'll talk after. Okay, good. Let's take some questions here. Howdy from Texas. Howdy from Connecticut.
Howdy.
Here's a question from Saul. Sal says, mental burnout seems as real as physical. Do you ever have trouble with your athletes getting mentally fatigued with doing the work? And if so, any insights on the root cause or solutions? Talk to us about this, Dan. Really?
Absolutely. And I, for years, I kind of said, tough it out. Now I just work with it. That's just, of course you get bored. I mean, my God, what did Jimmy Durante say? You could be married to Marilyn Monroe and yet you'd be, sneaking out looking for somebody else. He said something inoffensive, but on the weekends, I mean, it's part, Billy Joel didn't find Christy Brinkley attractive enough. I mean, the world's a crazy place, man. So yeah, boredom is part of what we do, man. You do lose touch with your athletes. So one of the things I tried to do, and I think this was good in my career, is especially, boy, I had a couple of groups that worked with really well, is especially in the preseason and even early in season. In fact, honestly, it worked out even even late season, is that Friday we would go out, for example, this is my throwers example, okay, just for one, is that we would get out and we would do our pre-practice before the team meeting. Okay. So our throwers would do all their turns, all their drills, throw the ball. I mean, they would throw power balls, throw tires, throw stick drills, go into that stupid meeting. The bus leaves at 3:00 meeting. I hated those things. But you have to repeat it 100 times. But on Friday, I would bring out the Swiss ball, that big bouncing ball, and we would play soccer with the Swiss ball. The next Friday, we would play ultimate frisbee, but instead of an ultimate frisbee, we would use a 4-pound Dynamax ball, and the kids would run around and play. We also played ultimate frisbee, which is hilarious because throwers take throwing seriously, and ultimate, by the way, may be one of the best conditioning games for power athletes I've ever seen, because power athletes don't like to sprint or run. But if you throw a flying disc just out of the reach, they will sprint like Usain Bolt to get it just to win some silly game. Mm-hmm. We also played the game called Hoover Ball, which is volleyball with a Dynamax 4-pound ball. I cannot recommend any other ball besides Dynamax, because otherwise you break fingers. Mm-hmm. But so one of the things is that I just when I was a judge, we had Friday was flag football day. We had a whole league set up with our football players, and then all their friends started showing up, and some of their friends started becoming throwers with us. We had a flag football league where the teams would play 3-on-3 games for the idea was for an hour, but the games always went way over, and they always asked for a rematch. And so on Friday, my athletes would sprint. My throwers would sprint for 2 hours, and I got rid of conditioning because my thought was, if you're sprinting for 2 hours on Friday, do you really need conditioning?
Yeah.
So it's going to be an issue. Bill Walsh, the great San Francisco coach, San Francisco 49er coach, once had Soviets, and now they're back at it again, show up at his practice, and they said, "What do you think of?" And the coach supposedly, to quote Joey from Friends, said, "It seems very boring and regimented." And I guess Bill Walsh said, "Wow," and rethought the way he did practices to make things a lot more interesting, because when you bore your athletes, you lose your athletes. So that's what I do. So I guess all the answers comes from two sides. First, I acknowledge the fact that lifting and throwing is going to be boring. I acknowledge the fact that as exciting as American football games are, practice can be boring. Mm-hmm. So my job is to have built-in enthusiasm makers.
I like that, Dan. Very good response. Very helpful. Thank you, as always. Anthony says more of a comment than a question, but we can throw some thoughts at it. He says, I'm doing now a 3 times a week double clean and press and 2 times a week double kettlebell front squat program. So Dan, is that a framework you would work with? And if so,
no.
how would you put numbers to that?
Cause him to die in a workout. This is frightening. No, it's perfect. I like it. It's like, basically, that looks like a Dick Nottmeyer Olympic lifting program. That literally looks like what I did for way too many years, decades of my life. Okay.
So how would you say somebody's looking at that and they say, "Ooh, that sounds fun. That sounds like a good time." How would you advise they structure that in terms of maybe intensity, and or can you even take the framework that we talked about in this episode and
Yeah. I mean,
apply it?
the thing I would just say is make sure you get some hangs in. Um, with those double kettlebell, you're not going to need much ab work because that double kettlebell front squat is going to really, really work those
That
abs.
anaconda strength, right?
Yeah. Really, I mean, the only downside of a program like that is every day is a hard day,
Yeah.
and just make sure you acknowledge that. If all you're doing is double kettlebell front squats, that can be a very, very hard workout. I mean, I like the numbers somewhere between 15 and 30 total squats in a workout. Doing double kettlebells, that's anywhere from 3 to 6 sets of 5, and sets of 5 are 3 sets of 8 in the double front squat. Those are good numbers. The only thing is those workouts are going to be done fast.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in and out quickly. So you're going to have to really focus on quality training versus quantity training. And here's the funny thing: you'll probably make better progress than anybody else. If you don't mind me coming to an interesting point, one of the people over at the danjohnuniversity.com forum, God, it sounds weird to say your name in the third person all the time, has been training hard for years, and then because of time, started doing my program my transformation program, 3 days a week, basically Olympic lifting based exercises for 3 sets of 8 with a minute rest, 15-minute workouts. Well, he goes in and gets blood tested. Oh, so he's doing a 15-minute weight workout followed by a 45-minute walk. Goes and sees his doctor, and the doctor says, a whole bunch of your blood profiles got much, much better. And the person said something, very simply that, could it be as simple as could it be as simple as the fact that I cut my weightlifting back to 15 minutes and walked 45?
Could
and
it be?
It doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, it's working. So sometimes, to get back to, what was it? Anatoly, Antony Popolabuk. Sometimes a short workout like that, actually for health and longevity, might be better.
Yeah, good reminders there, Dan, as always. So thank you. Here's another more of a comment, but we can again throw some thoughts at it. Christopher says, I've been doing 2 exercises a day with a full body focus. He's doing push and squat on day 1, pull and hinge on day 2, and then on day 3 he does groundwork and loaded carries. Then he takes a day off, and then he repeats and he walks after each workout. Is that going to kill him?
No, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, very nice.
That's solid. Yeah.
And is it, sometimes people, I'll get, as I know you do too, Dan, I get comments, emails, stuff like that. Pat, what do you think about this program? And I know nothing about this person, nothing about their background. So first thing I asked him, like, well, was it working? Right? Are you making progress? Like I'm happy to offer feedback, but give me a little context. Have you been doing this for 9 months and like getting fatter? Well, then probably consider something else or adjust something. Or have you been doing this for 9 months and you've totally transformed and all your profiles are better and you've achieved the body of your dreams? And why do you need my opinion on this thing? Right?
One time I was with an Olympian, and we were just sitting there talking, and I said, it's weird. My friend Eric Subert, one time, you guys were on a world team together, and he wrote down the workout you were doing. It's in here, and I don't want to show you the name. And I showed him this workout, and he looks up at me and goes, because it was a couple day thing, so we had plenty of time to do this. And I show him this workout, and he's like, yeah, I made the best progress of my career on that. And you see him, he starts doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And he goes, and he looks at me and goes, why did I stop doing this?
Maybe he didn't get the expert's approval. I think that's another kind of weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's this idea that people who might be making awesome progress on some programs, they feel like they need the expert's approval, right?
Yeah.
Guys, you really don't. Experts, coaches, we just had a big conversation on that. They have an important role to play. But you're not a helpless baby either, right? And if you're doing something and you're getting great results and everything's better, you're happier, you're leaner, you're stronger, your doctor tells you you're healthier, you don't need Instagram gurus approval. Maybe you might want some tips for optimization or where to go next, but you just don't need that. But that's one of those weird psychological things. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Dan, where people just feel they need the expert's approval.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Pat. And it's like, it's like Ralph Mon, LJ shows up at practice and he says, Coach, I added 20 feet to my throw doing this thing in the discus. And Coach Mon goes, well, what is it? And he goes, well, it's the wide leg coming out of the back, which is the modern discus throwing technique. Coach Mon, in a 5-second period, said, and started 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that by 1963, 1964, everyone in the world was focused on Logan, Utah's discus throwing ideas. At the exact same time, up at Oregon State, there's a young man by the name of Dick Fosbury who's he can't high jump the way everyone's teaching him. So he decides to go up this way, kind of backwards and sideways. His coach tries to talk him out of it every single week, every single day. Fosbury goes off to break the world record and win the Olympic gold medal. And the next year, his coach is traveling the country teaching people how to do this new jumping technique.
So he neither waited for the expert's approval. Was there also a number of peer-reviewed studies on that flop, Dan, before?
No, actually, interesting in both cases, and I hope we have some British listeners today. The British throwing establishment said that the wide leg was vastly inferior to what the British were doing already. And if you look on the list of best throwers in world history, I think you'll find my name above the best thrower in British history. If you go to it, and then later, the Germans and the Brits proved conclusively that the Fosbury technique, which we now call the flop, was not any good at all. And of course, there's not a single high jumper in the world, decathlete, heptathlete, who doesn't do the flop.
How about that? Right. So there's a point there, gentle listeners. We're going to let you dig around for it.
Right. Can I tell them what the point is?
Yeah, go ahead. You don't have to. You don't
work and do it. It's. I love that's the opening scene in Splash. John Candy is dropping coins on the ground and then looking up.
I haven't seen this movie.
You haven't seen Splash?
No, I've never seen it, but I love John Candy, so I'll have to.
Everyone who has seen Splash, would you please make a note to tell Pat and simply just say this: are you kidding me? Please put that in some kind of outrage,
some kind of insult, outrage. Acceptable. Yeah.
So years later, he's now in his 40s and he's still doing the same pickup technique on girls because it works. And I always thought that was hilarious because Judy Jones will remind you. Okay, she's very, very similar. Very comes in right away. So yeah. So for me, if something's working, you stick around with it. And I would suggest, like, for example, here are the notes I've been taking in our talk today. I have this card one. Yeah, I know. Boy, geez, talk about, yeah, boy, you're getting attacked, Pat. So these are the notes I've been taking already today because I find what we're doing just fascinating. So, I mean, here, we put this together. I've never seen this before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's basically, if it works, do it. And it's okay to make notes. It's okay to improve. It's okay to do a training program, but take notes. And when the thing starts to, the wheel starts shaking and the bumpers fall off,
yeah,
you'll have notes and you'll be able to go do something else for a while, but you'll know what worked and didn't work.
Yeah, okay? Very good. All right, let's see if we can squeeze one more in here. Wayne says, do you do or add warm-up sets? So maybe in addition to the hanging and stuff like that, Dan, Wayne wants to know, do you do any warm-up sets before you just hop right into the heavy weight?
This is and will continue to be one of the, this is a tough. So, Wayne, this is just like one of those questions that, as many answers are there for 2, 3, 5, it almost seems like with warm-ups. Let me just say it two ways. One, I remember sitting on the sidelines in a high school game. You know, I didn't think I was going to play, and I hear Danny John, and I went from 0 to hero. In my warm-up was snapping. You know, we had those, helmets. You have those two things. My warm-up was snapping my helmet on and running onto the field, and then I played, outside linebacker the rest of that game. That was my warm-up. If your kid pukes on you at 3 a.m. in the morning, your warm-up is that. That was it. Lots of people I have great respect for don't believe in warm-ups at all. I remember we were at a Dragon Door thing one time where they brought in a very famous powerlifter whose warm-up was napping just before he lifted. There's another all-around lifter who never warms up. Jürgen Schult and the East German throwers, when they found out that you were only allowed 2 warm-ups before major track meets, the coaching group said, okay, if you only get 2 warm-ups, we need to teach our athletes to be ready by the 3rd throw, the opening mark. 2 warm-up throws, the 3rd throw. And I remember one of my friends telling me it was the weirdest thing to be at the World Championships, where the East Germans sat in chairs. Their name was called for the warm-up. They stood up, took a massive throw, sat back down, warm-up, massive throw, sat back down, first throw, massive throw. And everybody else was doing all these drills and stuff. So what warm-ups are is also going to have to be what you need too. Now, I know this. There is a role for warm-up and cool-down. There is. But if your life is so hectic, I would suggest cutting back on the warm-up a little bit, trying to get to the meat of the workout, and then let the rest of your day. So get that 15 minutes of, get the heat, get heated up, and spend the rest of your day cooling down and burning fat or whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are times for I watch, and you'll notice in American football, teams don't warm up like they used to. They used to have these, some teams still do. And I just think, you get out there 4 hours before the game and you do this extensive warm up. I learned we had a new principal. Are you okay with me talking one more story?
Please, yeah.
We had a new principal who hated sports at Judge Memorial Catholic High School here in Salt Lake City. I'm not going to tell you the school's name. And he hated sports, but because he decided to add 20 minutes to the school day because the English department wanted more time in the school day to not teach. Saucer milk, table 1, please. And so he didn't, for home games, he will not allow the kids to check out early. So our home game started at 3:30. So our boys were getting out of class at 2:40, which usually ends up being 2:45 because of end of the day announcements where they would tell you the same thing you already said 3 times. You know that. They would run down to the locker room. So, and then of course, if they bumped into anybody in the hallway or had to put their books in their locker, so they would get to the locker room at 3. How long does it take to put on a full football uniform? It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So my athletes would be showing up on the field while the other team had been warming up on our home field for the better part of an hour. So I had 15 minutes to warm my team up, do all the stuff you have to do to prep a game. And so what I realized was that's how we'll start practicing. We'll get off the field and we'll go right into something.
Practice as close as you can to how you're going to perform, right?
And for me, I discovered that what happened in those extensive warm-ups is, I had to do some things tactically, strategically to overcome that. But what I began to notice is that we weren't just conditioning and more conditioning. We weren't just getting more junk in.
Yeah.
Kids said, Coach, I feel tight here. I'd be like, well, do you know a stretch? Oh, I know about 50. We'll do them all. And, let me know when you're ready. Because see those guys out there, we are now actually playing the game.
Right. Yeah.
So it's going to be warm-ups is a tough thing. And it's going to be a real, it's going to be a real rainbow of the answers.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dan, for that. Those insights, very helpful. And by the way, are you okay if I share that email you sent with me over on the show notes?
I wanted you to, for that.
Okay, good. So, gentle listeners, once this episode is up, which will be shortly after this, head over to chroniclesofstrength.com. Dan sent me that. That's from your new book, correct? An excerpt.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how edited. It's not edited and perfect, but good enough for this group of brigands.
Of gentle listeners. So, all right, yeah, head over to chroniclesofstrength.com afterwards, and you'll see some extra bonus content there on the show notes page. Dan, before we go, aside from this new book, which is news to me, anything else that you're working on that you want to mention?
Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned the book. I don't know if I was supposed to.
That's cool.
Oops. Well, I'm starting the Kettlebell Club. It's going to be every Tuesday morning. It's going to go for about 40 minutes before the Pat Flynn podcast. Basically, I'm going to try to set it up like the old Coyote Point Kettlebell Club, where everything is an answer to questions. And it won't necessarily be workouts, but it'll be just like how to do kettlebells. Today, we had questions on picking the bell up off the ground and rack, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, awesome. Just the basics. That's cool.
And
they can find that on pretty much all your channels. You stream it on. Yeah.
Great. And people who are on the Dan John University have a Zoom link that they can actually be part of it. Awesome. And then later you'll be able to purchase the Zoom link. That's if it works. I'm going to give it about a 3 to 4, 5, 6 month, about a 12-year trial. And then if it works, we'll
yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Well, Dan, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tremendous conversation. Gentle listeners, please do, if you get value out of here, and I don't see how you don't. Dan just gave some incredible workout ideas. Please like, comment, share. Take 2 minutes to leave a review on iTunes, especially because that stuff really helps. You're sharing, you're reviewing. It makes a difference. It brings new people into the show. So if you like what we're doing, please support us in that way, and we'll catch you next episode. Bye-bye.